So I am the fourth great granddaughter of Sarah Rousseau, Sarah and James Rousseau, through my husband. And Sarah had a daughter also named Sarah. So Sarah Jane had Sarah Elizabeth, and then Elizabeth had Jenny. And Jenny was Grandma Jenny.
Hmm.
Grandma Jenny took care of Richard, Ronald, and Reggie, Reggie being um, Ryan, my husband's father,
Mhm.
when their mother passed. So she died suddenly, and Grandma Jenny came and took care of them. And so, being the grandchild, she absolutely knew, or the daughter of Sarah Elizabeth, who was on the train, there would have been stories and all kinds of things. This is not a far off, adventure. This is very close. And I have her rocking chair in my office right now, and it
Oh,
has
that's
the hands are all worn.
mhm.
Reggie would tell me about how she'd sit and she'd rock and she'd tell stories in her hands. She'd rub her hands on it. And so it's real special that we have the storytelling chair here.
Wow, that's great.
I am going to retranscribe and fix grammar and fix things and annotate the whole diary.
Uh, Reading that wonderful diary, I just think about every day that they traveled for over 7 months.
Stinky people now.
They were held. They stopped in near Salt Lake for a couple of weeks if the weather was bad. But in the course of the day, the conversations. What do they talk about?
Yeah. So I am actually novelizing the entire diary in a responsibly fictional way. So I'm making sure things are historically accurate in the framework. However, what did they say? What did they wear? Whatever I decide.
Right. Well, that's it. You're so right. I think the same thing, and that's why I see the value, extreme value, and I have a lot of interest in your novel. My name is Nick Cataldo. I'm a retired special ed teacher, and when I was 12 years old, my family moved to San Bernardino, California. And I lived there, 53 years. As I mentioned, I taught special education for 36 plus years. And that was a very passionate part of my life. I absolutely love teaching. I also had a strong interest in history. I used to watch Westerns on TV with my grandparents. Both of my grandfathers in the early 60s. We watched How Gun Will Travel, Gunsmoke, The Life and Legend of Wyatt Earp, and all these shows. And I just developed this interest in history of colonial history too, but especially the Old West. And we moved to San Bernardino when I was 12 years old. I found out this was part of the West, and I started getting very interested in local history, and that's really my forte. I love reading, researching, exploring, touching history where I live. And one of the important families or well-known families that came out to San Bernardino, I found out when I was a kid, was the Earp family. So the Earps are a big part of my interest.
And you've written books, not just one, but multiple books regarding the Earps and the pioneers that are in the local area, right?
Yeah. I read a few books. I wrote two books on the Earp family. One was through the San Bernardino Historical and Pioneer Society. It was called the Earps of San Bernardino County. And I co-wrote that with Fred Holliday, who was no relation to Doc Holliday, but he was an early member of our historical society. And in 2006, I wrote a book called The Earp Clan, The Southern California Years. And it's in third printing right now. In addition to the Earps, I wrote a book, Images of San Bernardino, Images of America, San Bernardino, California. It's a oral history. It's through Arcadia Publishing. If you go to Barnes and Noble or Amazon, you'll see.
Yeah, there's one for every city.
Oh, every city, yeah.
Yeah.
I co-wrote a book called Pioneers of San Bernardino County, and I co-wrote that with Arda Hansel, who is one of the most prominent historians of San Bernardino County and also Southern California. She passed away. That book was published through the San Bernardino County Museum Association. Besides that, I've written many articles. I've written articles for the Tombstone Epitaph, Old West themed articles, but a lot of them pertain to the local area here in San Bernardino, Mojave Desert, Southern California. I've written for OCTA, which is a Oregon and California Trails Association. Overland Journal, that's what we call it. The Overland Journal is the name of the journal. I've written for the Old Spanish Trail Association, written for Wild West magazine, and I write a monthly local history column for the San Bernardino Sun, which is our local newspaper. And I do a lot of researching. I lecture a lot. In fact, normally I probably give about one lecture a month.
Great. And you have your interest in this story in the Rousseau's family trip across the plains because of your association with my uncle, Richard Molony, who has passed, I think it's been has it been 5 years? Oh my goodness.
Okay.
So, and you guys were friends for many, many years through the Historical Society, which makes you now a family friend. And at that time, before he had passed, we'd been working on this diary project. It was just a fun summer thing for about a year and a half and exchanging notes. And for me, it was like, oh, that's cool. But he was very serious. So he mentored me into, no, this is real.
Excellent.
To preserve that. So thank you so much for talking with me today.
You're welcome.
You really are. You are a family friend, and I am so excited to meet you virtually and to have your support for preserving this story and bringing it to life and keeping history relevant. That's very important.
Okay, well, it's an honor to meet you, and I'm really glad to be part of, at least as a surrogate member of your family.
Absolutely.
Well, anyway, I enjoyed your article very much. And like I mentioned a couple of days ago, that I was very, I was surprised that you found information and you sent me the links, that the diary and
so got it all
about Virgil's first wife, about laying on a wagon train, and that's really interesting, because I had read that in some sources that when the Rousseaus and the Earps, when he left on May 12th, 1864, at one time there were up to 40 wagons.
Yeah, they grow and shrink and then have issues.
Yeah. And I didn't know how accurate that was, but I knew that in the end, it seemed like there were about maybe 12 wagons, or, the families. But it does make sense if there were otherwise, and in the diary, as you mentioned, it mentioned that there were other people that were coming in.
Yeah.
And it's ironic, or maybe it's all, whatever it is, it's synchronized that they're all going somewhere. And here his Nick Earp's not ex-daughter-in-law, but
I think so. Ex-daughter-in-law or non-daughter-in-law.
Non-daughter-in-law, right. Yeah. So it's very interesting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
That was one of the things I felt really disappointed in, that people would be hyper-focused on just the Earps or just the Rousseaus or just the Kelly Larimers, or just because they had nice, complete, round stories, but no one overlapped them and saw that they absolutely are inextricably tied together.
Right.
And there's this sequence of events, just even like Irving Merrill did his ancestor, and this guy with George Foreman, they see the train, the horses that are robbed from the Rousseaus. They see them coming through, and I'm like, how did you miss this? They're like, whoosh, right there.
Oh, there's so much. You're right. I mean,
juicy.
That diary is so incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know if there is a diary as extensive.
With all the people. The people are amazing people.
The people. And Sarah Jane was very, she was educated for her day, and she wrote that way. And think about their travel. It took them over 7 months to get from from Pella, Iowa to San Bernardino. Mm-hmm. And that, even if people got along well in the beginning, after a while, you're going to be a little irritated, maybe even with your own family. It's a long way to travel. And she took the time out, she wrote. And She mentioned about when she stopped in Salt Lake. Well, it was not in Salt Lake. It was on the way to Salt Lake, and she saw Brigham Young. I'm trying to find what the point was.
Nice but fleshy man.
Yeah, fleshy man. Yeah, and I think she kind of described him as being kind of a pompous. Yeah, interesting. Fun stuff.
Yeah, I love her. I just love her. And I'm so glad that there's someone else in this world that is as nerdy and interested as I am. And I'm so glad to have you on this team. And
oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The thing is, though, they were going to San Bernardino. How did they, I mean, obviously they use landmarks, natural landmarks on mountains. With a little community of Hellendale, they call it Point of Rocks. I think we had mentioned that in our diary, too. So, and Nick Earp had been there before. He was up in Hangtown, the northern.
Yes, but on a totally different path.
Well, I know, but you're right. Now he came supposedly, according to his testimony to the San Bernardino Pioneer Society in 1888.
Ooh, send that to me.
Yeah, okay, sure. I'll say. Yeah, basically it was, the first member. Actually, to be a member of the Pioneer Society back then, you had to show you arrived in California before a certain date, in San Bernardino County before a certain date, and how you got here. And he mentioned that, he went to Hangtown. And then he mentioned on his way back, he took a southern route. And I'm sure it's probably the old Spanish trails, which would lead into Cajon Pass and San Bernardino.
Yeah.
On the way out. But he went down there. Why he went down to this area, who knows? But he said that he fell in love with the area and he was determined to come back. Well, if that's accurate or inaccurate, 13 years later, because he left in 1852, about 12 years later, that's where they went. And their goal was to go to San Bernardino. Now, remember, after 12 years, it's a road, wagons had come out, but it's not like you're having thousands of cars on a freeway.
Right. Well, there's some theories there with the Mormons, because the Mormons started flooding in as well. So there were multiple, not Spanish trails, but departures.
Right. Well, in the 1840s and 50s, but when more immigrants were coming in, it's just, I don't know. And like after a while, you see a road. Obviously, if a road is washed out, there's no turning back. There's no AAA. And so you found a way to get you take the wheels off the wagon, you would caulk the bottom, you would float over or whatever it took to get, or take the wagons apart to get across. But after a while, you use the road going that way and that way. And obviously I can see, okay, you follow the sun.
There's a mountain. We got to go.
Yeah, you're going to go west, but how do you finally get to, some of you crossing the Mojave Desert? Okay, it was they arrived in December. Okay, so it was cold. They actually probably had some snow maybe, but they crossed in the desert. Obviously, he would know where the Cajon Pass was. That's my guess. Because you see from a distance.
Well, the people in Vegas would be able to usher and direct that way, and
exactly right. You're right. That you're right. You're right. The people in between, they would guide them. That's right.
But they were escorted, right? There was an Indian from Canosh when they were in Salt Lake or south of Salt Lake. They were with Canosh, and when they went to depart, with Mr. Hatton being the leader now, Canosh sent them with an escort. And that's weird, because I don't know if they were followed because these people caused trouble. These people are, I don't know what that was. I don't know that it was helpful. But Mr. Hatton had a really wonderful reputation and relationship with Canosh. And so maybe it was helpful. So they went with about 12 escorts for a while. And then they departed and whatever, get off our property.
I forgot about that. Okay.
Yeah, but one stayed. Indian named Frank, Pavan.
Southern Paiutes and Utes, yeah.
Thank you. So he brought them through from Vegas to almost Sierra Nevadas. And he brought them through the old Moapa Valley on the trading foot trails where they were doing human trafficking and horse trafficking and such. So he actually brought them through not the main route, but he brought them through the trading route that Canosh's brother was in the Moapa Valley. Now Chief Walker is what Grandma called her. So they ended up with this escort that took them all the way through, and then they hit the Angel Fire Valley or Valley of Fire.
Okay.
And yeah, and they were confronted with the Moapa Indians. They were like, wait a second, with fully weapon, what are you doing on this back road that no one's supposed to know about?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is just fabulous.
Right. Yeah, you're right. I've been fascinated since the first time I saw part of the diary. It was from Salt Lake to San Bernardino. It was published by the San Bernardino County Museum. And I always wondered, well, what happened, between Iowa and Salt Lake? And then when I met your uncle, Dick, and when he joined the Historical Society around 1980, and I found out that he was related to the Rousseau family. In fact, I was calling him Rousseau. I didn't pronounce the family name wrong, but he mentioned he had the whole diary. I just thought, he was telling me stories, and then he let me look at what he did. He let me photocopy. So I've got a copy of the entire diary that he got.
The transcription.
The transcript.
Yeah.
And after Dick passed away, and I visited with Mary Lou a few times, she had some items she wanted to donate to the Historical Society that belonged to Dick. And she took out this diary, and I just thought, God, is like the holy grail. So, I mean, it's like I didn't want to touch, and I got a couple pages inside the diary. One of them has a flower, a desert flower that Sarah Jane put in there as a keepsake or bookmark or who knows what. And also she pencil drew a we call wagon circle. What do you
corral?
Yeah, when they made it, like on TV, and she drew it. I mean, it's like this is what they did. They really did make a circle, and that's pretty cool. He's all pencil, and it was. That's it's the idea. That's the one and only. That's the original. Nobody else has that.
Right.
She did write a lot of wonderful things, expressions, but in the course of the day, you wonder what went on. What was the conversations like? We heard that Nicholas Earp, was not always the easiest guy to get along with. Mm-hmm. Of course, to be fair, he was a wagon master, and keeping people together for over 7 months, that's got to be a laborious task.
Yeah. When I was a school teacher, I had 20 kids to keep track of for one day at a time. That was...
Yeah, I know. I mean, I taught too. Yeah, you're right. It's tough. Yeah. So it's, yes. I'm very interested and excited to read your novel.
I have such a love-hate relationship with these characters. They start doing such bad things. They're all, we all innately, we have these evil intentions.
Oh, yeah.
We're so selfish. And so I do reveal that in the book of that not everybody is this great, we're all helping and we're all coming together. No, there's resentment, there's hurt, there's lies, there's backstabbing. And just the way that Ms. Rousseau writes is so glossed over.
Oh, she does.
It's so proper.
She stays very calm.
Oh, I'm so excited to read you a chapter today. But I want to just identify the people that show up in that first chapter to establish not just Sarah's story, but the fact that different people are influencing her and putting her in this position. And so the first chapter introduces Nicholas Earp and Israel Curtis, who have a existing relationship. They work in the county together-ish. One's a lawyer, the other one is a military-ish lawyer. So we've now got these common themes of I'm the big man in the courthouse and I'm the big man in the military courthouse. And so these big personalities clashing and coming together with how are we going to manage the new political wave that is hitting. And now one thing that I did have to tweak in here was the Pella residents were so good about volunteering for the military, especially if they were from the Dutch community, because that was money. Right. So they were actually exempt. The Pella proper residents were exempt from the draft rolls at this time. Mm. But if you were not in Pella proper, good luck.
Oh.
So I'll start that. So this is chapter 1-ish, it might change from here on out. End scene.
Oh, excellent. Oh, I tell you, that sounds terrific. I can't wait to hear or read the rest of your novel. Your voice is so terrific. When you complete the book, are you going to have on audio too?
Absolutely.
It's a great voice. You've done a lot of this before. The clarity, your expression, the way you've written it's gravity. I was disappointed that it just ended right now.
Oh no, that's great. That's great.
Oh, terrific. Yeah. How far are you on your book?
Well, chronologically 11 chapters.
Okay.
But as I get to the research, I fill it in the future, so it's sort of unfolding like an accordion.
That's right. Oh, I understand.
Yeah, and every little thing, it's very laborious, I would say. It's so fun to have the conversations with these people, but even to walk into the courthouse to find images of what the courthouse looked like, what color was the courthouse, and then it has the steeple and the shadows and what time of the day and where. Oh man, just for one little scene, all the little details, laborious.
Well, just thinking about the diary. I mean, once they went on the trek, they started their trek. I mean, so much went on in the next few months, but just the preparation, I just think, for me, some of the most amazing aspects of these pioneers leaving a kind of a cushy life in the Midwest or the East Coast, making that trek out west. I mean, the thought patterns, all the decisions. Usually they're from men. Men make the decisions for the most part. I always wondered, how did the Virginia Ann Earp or Sarah Jane, although she had rheumatism, I guess, did they all say, let's go, let's go way out there, and we don't know what the heck we're going to see.
You'll find out in the book. Every single character has a special opinion.
Very good.
And Ginny, Virginia Earp, she's cool.
Oh yeah, she is. She smoked a pipe. I know that.
Yeah, and so far they haven't met, but I can't wait for them to meet. Okay. Chronologically, they haven't met. You won't see that. But, oh boy.
Yeah, it's good.
And I think there's some very cool moments that are going to happen where, regardless of the drama between the husbands, the women are going to establish a bond. This is a scoundrel's wife, gambling, bootlegging, you're raising hooligans, you can't get your act together, your husband's always in trouble, there's always these things, and your children are wild, compared to Miss Rousseau's perfect children.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Well, yeah, you're the author. You can see.
Right. So at some point, there's a come to Jesus of,
oh yeah,
God, thank you for keeping us alive. Your unsanctioned ways have kept us alive, and that's very special between the women to say thank you. Well, I'm so excited to be able to share a portion of this and build up some excitement about the projects that we're working on together and in support of each other with other members of the Historical Society and whomever you choose. So I hope that they will find this fun and interesting, and not the same note being played over and over and over, but really seeing things come to life. Thank you everyone for joining us today. If you want to know more about the Rousseau Project, I am putting up on a blog photos, maps, and things at janellemolony.com/Rousseau, ROUSSEAU. And I'm available on @Rousseau Project on social media, Facebook and Instagram. I'll put the links in the comments or up here on the screen for you as well. Bye, Nick. Have a great rest of your day.
All right. Take care.